Trap, trap money, Benny. This shit got me in my...
All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo-Hebrew, also known as the Lashawan Quadash, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is who the world ignorantly calls God, Bahashim, which means in the name, Yahweh Shai, which means He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man, okay, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? Now, what brings us to our discussion / topic this afternoon is it goes deeper than just oil, okay? And that may be the name of the title. It goes deeper than oil, or should I say it goes way deeper than oil, because as we know, you have to dig deep to get to the oil, okay? But this, what we're finna expose, goes way deeper than oil. And what are we talking about, okay? We're talking about the acceleration of smart cities, okay? This is what's propelling this acceleration, is the lack thereof of the resources or thereof fossil fuel, okay? So don't get it twisted, all right? This whole quote-unquote war in the Middle East is affecting all sectors, okay? It's doing a number on all sectors, all right? Because although the economy is projected to crash noticeable by the end of May, it's going to actually usher in or accelerate smart cities, 15 mini cities, okay? Because why? Initially, those would take 10 to 15 years to prepare. But now, once you restrict or put regulations on fossil fuel, such as crude oil, and especially what's going on over there in the Strait of Hormuz, where Trump's saying he has a blockade where he's not allowing ships to come in and go out, guess what? That's going to only perpetuate or accelerate the plan of what? Green energy, all right? Now, what is green energy? It's a way to move off of fossil fuel, okay? Because fossil fuel is your diesel, your oil, and these things that run the economy, all right? These are the fossil fuel amenities, okay? But now if they got the Strait of Hormuz closed and essentially choke holding 20% of the global economy, guess what? They can fast track these smart cities, okay? Which are going to be what? Ran by digital, okay? CBDCs, digital IDs, okay? And guess what? You don't need fossil fuel to run airlines or airplanes. You don't need fossil fuels to drive semi-trucks, 18-wheelers. You don't need fossil fuels to run plants, okay? You can rely on green energy, okay? And this is where they want to take it at. So this whole Strait of Hormuz is only further propelling their agenda, okay? Because if my math is correct, 2030 is what? 3 years away? 3.5 years away? And they got to fast track this thing, okay? So this whole Strait of Hormuz is going to impact the economy, devastating it. But it's all by what? Design, okay? Because as it says, out with the old and in with the new, okay? They're not looking to revive this old system, all right? Ran on what? Fossil fuel, okay? Because I was watching this interview on Redacted, and it came to and it just came to me. The spirit, it settled on me, okay? Because this guy that goes by the name of Professor Pape or Pape, P-A-P-E, said something that caught my attention. And what did he say? He said majority of the blue collar workers rely on fossil fuel, meaning what? Gas, to get to and from their jobs or to and from their, grocery stores or wherever. And it dawned on me that this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get rid of that aspect of the blue collar. Because why? They don't want people working anymore. All right. They want to substitute your supplement with a UBI, a universal basic income. Therefore, going green and cutting out the emission from your exhaust that exuberates that smoke or that exhaust from your pipes. Okay. So cut away the fossil fuel. Look it up. Fossil fuel. It plays an important role in a lot of our everyday walks of life, man. From manufacturing jobs to our cars that we use, to the planes that we fly on, to the trains that transport all different types of things. Because fossil fuel goes into coal, goes into gas, diesel, everything. Okay, so guess what? You do away with that under the guidelines or auspices of a shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz, then you what? You fast track these 15-minute smart cities where things are ran what? EV, electrical vehicles, okay? And this is where they want. This is where they wanted to go, because now they can track and monitor everything that you do within these central hubs or these 15-minute cities or smart cities, okay? And the greatest component is going to be that what? RFID microchip, all right? This is how they're going to travel. This is how you're going to travel. This is how you're going to get your everyday amenities, This is how everything is going to be, okay? So don't look for them to just open up the Strait of Hormuz just yet, because why? They're trying to cripple the economy, okay? Now, I asked Google, are data centers involved in initiating green energy, okay? Because a lot of these data centers are going to be major components in this up-and-coming new world order, all right? Especially the AI data centers. And I can think of one in particular, which is Host Dimes, okay? They have a big AI, tier 4, if I'm not mistaken, that they said they're going to be putting up. It's supposed to be up and running by December, but we don't know what the holdup is. But nevertheless, they are a component in the green energy. So I said AI, I said Google, are data centers involved in initiating green energy? And this is what the AI overview came up with. Yes, data centers are major drivers in initiating and accelerating the transition to green energy. See? So initially, if they would just let things play out normally, it would take 10 to 15 years to get a smart city or a 15-minute city up to code where people can dwell and inhabit it. But through this crisis that they're manufacturing over there in the Strait of Hormuz, and choking off the fossil fuel, they can accelerate that by 3 to 7 years. Meaning that what? This thing could be up and running by 2030. Okay? And just imagine the heartache and the pain that the people are going to feel between now and 2030. Jobs are going to be lost. Traveling is going to come to a halt. Okay? Just imagine these next 3.5 years are going to be what? Like a time no other. Okay? That's all we can tell you. Jacob's trouble. Okay? Because this is at the forefront. It says, yes, data centers are major drivers, not minor, major drivers in initiating and, very important, accelerating. See, this is how they do. They tell you one thing to get your mind preoccupied, but then on the back end of that, they can accelerate, okay? They can accelerate through what? A crisis, or poly, meaning many crises, okay? So expect this thing to worsen as we get closer, all right? Because this is what they want. They want to phase out fossil fuel as much as possible and rely or go completely green, all right? And you can run CBDCs with green energy. You can run digital infrastructure with green energy. You can run data centers, okay? Which is going to house what? The major computer boards to this new world order, okay? Also known as the cloud. It's going to store all information in these data centers, okay? Which they're going to use to track your every move, all right? Because why? Eventually, or the end game is that they want to put that device the size of a grain of rice, a RFID microchip, inside of you, okay? It sounds far out, but this is where we at with it. It says, driven by massive power needs, they act as major buyers of renewable energy through power purchase agreements, PPAs, invest in on-site generation, solar, wind, battery, and spur innovation in advanced technologies like geothermal and hydrogen. Okay? So this is where they're going to take it at, man. All right? This is why a lot of these surrounding areas that have these data centers, the people complain about their water bill going up, or that their water pressure being dropped down dramatically. Because why? These data centers, they require a lot of water to what? Run, clean efficiently. Okay? So a lot of these neighborhoods that's surrounded by these data centers, they are on water restrictions. They can't use water for certain periods of the day. They got restrictions, okay? Because this is all in the attempt to go green, okay? To do away with the old fossil fuel type plants and to replace them with what? More energy efficient, renewable data centers, okay? Which is going to house or act as the cloud to these devices, okay? That we're going to be hooked up to in these smart cities / 15-minute cities, okay? It goes on to say key ways data centers initiate green energy, driving renewable demand. Data centers are massive consumers of energy, making them key catalysts for developers to build renewable energy projects. See? That whole fossil fuel, it's getting phased out, okay? And 20% of the global economy comes through that Strait of Hormuz. That's going to be enough to impact just about every sector, all right? Especially here in America, okay? Especially here in America, because they already want to go green. They already got the
the plans, the infrastructure of this beast system. You got 15-minute cities already here in America. Okay? They're already here. All right? So it's nothing. It's nothing for them to completely go green. All right? And this is where they're going at. They're gonna eventually fade away or do away with fossil fuel altogether. All right? You're not going to be able to travel like you once knew. All right? You're going to have to go green. You're going to have to get that chip, and that's going to be your way of life. All right? They may walk you into it with a little UBI or CBDC, but eventually it's going to come down to taking that RFID microchip. This is where it's all heading to. Power purchase agreements, companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft. There's a patent, if I'm not mistaken, that Bill Gates have with Microsoft that ends with 666, okay? Where it basically controls your every movement, okay? It says, make large-scale investments to fund new solar and wind farms, guaranteeing them a market. See, these are all major big components in this up-and-coming beast system. Let's read it again. Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, okay? These are tech giants, all right? Couple them with major institutional firms like Wells Fargo, Chase, JP Morgan, and you're looking at your up-and-coming beast system, man. Okay? You're looking at it. On-site renewable generation. Operators are deploying solar panels and battery storage directly at data centers. Sites to lower carbon emissions. See? Fossil fuel is going to be obsolete, man. They're trying to move away from that as much as possible and rely on what? Solar energy. Okay? They want to do away with carbon emissions. Developing new technologies. Data centers are investing in reliable, clean, firm power technologies, including next generation geothermal and advanced nuclear. See, those old nuclear plants, they're not going to play a role in this up and coming beast system, man. They don't need the fossil fuel that's sparked by oil as one of the components and coal. They're going to do away with that. That's why the overall thing that's happening in Strait of Hormuz is pretty much helping to propel this. It's helping to accelerate this. It's by no sheer coincidence, man. All right, because you got to remember the greater project that the state of Israel is trying to do is going to look like a 15-minute city, man. That's why they're trying to get rid of all of that over there in Gaza. Okay? They're going to replace it with a 15, or so they believe that. That's their mindset, see? But see, the Lord is going to come back and interrupt that in the midst of that. All right? They only going to get but so far. All right? Once they implement this microchip and make it mandatory, then the missiles are going to come and destroy America, all of America, the United States of America, and the Holy Land, because we're not going to inhabit that place under its current rulers. They're going to have to be cleansed out. Our land is going to have to be cleansed out before we return. But unlike America, the Holy Land will be built back up through what? Through the other nations when they go into slavery, starting with Esau, Edom. It says, energy efficiency and heat reuse. Modern facilities use advanced cooling and optimize energy usage, while some use excess server heat to provide energy to local communities. Top operators expect to run on renewable, pay very close attention. Top operators expect to run on renewable energy completely by 2025 to 2030. I didn't even read this in the beginning. Reducing dependence on fossil fuel. I didn't even read this at the beginning. Call Haloyim La Yahweh Bahashima Mashiach Yahweh Shai. So they have to accelerate this thing. All right? They have to cut people jobs, which is why they haven't found a solution to what? Open up the Department of Homeland Security fully. That's why they still got TSA, because they're phasing out the TSA. Okay? Soon they're going to phase out the people that have manufacturing jobs, warehouses jobs, and eventually those that are all the way up to doctors and lawyers, because it's all going to be replaced by AI. All right? This is what these smart cities are going to house. Everything is going to be housed and ran by artificial intelligence. Through what? The cloud, these data centers. All right? So this is all going hand in hand. The Strait of Hormuz being closed, open, closed, it's manipulating the market. That, and it's also accelerating this green energy crisis, okay? Or lack thereof, because they got to get this thing up and moving. See? So this is where we're at with it. It goes way deeper than just oil, okay? Let's get a couple of precepts and we'll take it from there. All right, this is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It reads, lest Satan, who is Satan? The adversary, okay, should get an advantage of us. See, this is why we're sober. This is why we're vigilant. This is why we're constantly measuring the times diligently, all right? Because if not, this devil will roll on us with all autonomy, okay? Meaning what? He'll just have his way with us, okay? But see, the Lord has opened the eyes, the ears, and the heart of the elect in these last days to take heed, okay? So that what? Satan won't get an advantage of us. Because why? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, along with the rest of his lackeys, these other nations, they are all in lockstep and pushing and bringing forth this new world order, all right? This beast system, okay? Make no mistake about it. It's just that one thinks that they're going to be supreme or rule over the other. So they're what? They're gathering together in alliance, okay? But little to their knowledge, Yahushua is coming to take them all down, man. All right? So it says, lest Satan, the adversary, Esau, Edom, should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. See, we understand the end game. All right? Because why? Yahweh's sacrifice unlocked the seal of the books. Okay? And now we have an understanding to know exactly what this devil is planning to do. Okay? And not just knowing, but how we have to combat that. All right? Through the word, through the truth, through our faith, through our belief, through our actions. Okay? Through our works, to the best of our ability. Okay? Because 2/3 of our people here in America ain't going to make it out alive. That's just a fact. Okay? Because why? Satan's going to take an advantage of them. Okay? They're going to love their life more than they love Yahushua. And when it comes to realization that it's going in the direction that we've been telling them, it's going to be way too late, man. The only other alternative they're going to have is to take that RFID microchip. And in doing so, they've they've sealed their fate, okay? Which is to be what? Stubble, missile food, all right? So let's read it again. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us. See? Let's see how that sounds in a different translation. This is the NLT. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us. See? Because here it is, we thinking that it's just the oil that's going to impact the economy, albeit that it's true, it's something even sinister than just the oil. It's the phasing of the oil and other fossil fuels that's going to accelerate the coming of green energy, these data centers, and essentially the beast system even faster. Okay? So it says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. See? Because you got to understand, these central bankers, they're playing a major role in all of this. Okay? They're playing a major role in all of this. America, Iran, China, Russia, they got a hand in all of it. Okay? Because why? Essentially, they're doing the will of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. Okay? This is his will. All right? He controls the hearts of the kings. He turns it whithersoever he will, as rivers of water. Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 1. See? So this is all going according to the will of the Heavenly Father, man. All right? We're just here to bring it out and to give you an update and a heads up to continue to fight, to endure, because it's almost over. But before it's over, we're going to have to go through it, okay? But the only thing that's separating us from the others is that we have the understanding, the wisdom, the knowledge, which is going to keep us stable in that time, and that the Lord is going to be dealing with us if we're of the elect. Abba Ratasa, Father will. So it says, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. Let's see if we can get one more. I like that RSV, but let's see if we can find another one. If not, we'll come back to this one. YLT hits good too. Let me scroll down to the BBE and the AMP. See what they talking about. See what the AMP. Let's go back up to the RSV then. This is the RSV. It says, to keep Satan from gaining the advantage over us, for we are not ignorant of his designs. Okay? And this is all it is the design, man. To further cripple this economy, tank, get away as far as possible from fossil fuel, and come closer to green energy, which is only going to accelerate these smart cities and 15-minute cities, where those will then be ran what? Primarily through the mark of the beast. Okay? This is where the end game is coming to. Okay? This is why China is already one step ahead. See, America got to play catch up. Okay? China is applying that pressure, man. So America, you Americans, you just gonna have to embrace it, man. You're going to have to embrace getting laid off pretty soon. You're going to have to embrace everything that's coming. And then when it's here, you're going to have to take that mark of the beast, that microchip. That's where it's heading to, man. And all these other countries, they in line with it as well. They're going to have their own digital currency. Okay? But eventually it's all going to lead to what? The RFID microchip. All right? That grain of rice implanted, the size of a grain of rice implanted in your body, underneath your skin. So this is where they're going at with it. All right? And it says, for we are not ignorant of his devices. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 12. See, that 2030 ain't too far off, man. They got to pick things up. So they got to send this economy spiraling. Okay? So expect, because in that interview that I watched on Redacted with Clayton and his wife, allegedly, they could be operatives, agents. I ain't gonna say that for sure, but allegedly his wife, when they interviewed Professor Pate, allegedly, if he is, they made the assertion that what? They're gonna get away as far as possible from fossil fuel. Or he said something along that, with fossil fuel being a driven component that Americans use to get to and from work. And they do away with that. Guess what? You're going to suffer tremendously, because you're going to lose your job. All right. You may have a remote job. Even that's going to be impacted. Okay. Because why? Look what your house is rent off of what? fossil fuel in some way, shape, or form, man. All right? So they're going to have to redo everything, okay? Especially these 15-minute cities, these smart cities. This is where all the opportunities are going to be at, okay? How are you going to work from home when you don't have a smart city or a 15-minute city hookup? You're going to have to come into these smart cities and 15-minute cities. They don't care about if you live off the grid, because you're going to have to come into the smart cities in these 15-minute cities. Okay, this is where all the opportunities are going to lie at. All right, for the majority of our people. Okay, and they know that. This is where they're bringing it at. So it says, Revelation 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. Why? And of the sea, for the devil, the deceiver, the false accuser, is come down unto you, having great wrath. See, it's only going to get worse as we get closer. Like stated earlier, in the interview in Redacted, Professor Pape, if that truly is his name, P-A-P-E, who is being interviewed by Clayton and his wife, if they truly are married, said by the end of May, the contractions can begin to show here in America. All right? The contractions. All right? The pain, the high prices, the lack of supply. All right? Because the demand is going to be there, but the supply is going to be lack of. Because of why? This whole thing in Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz. This is where they wanted at. All right, so jobs can close down, and then these smart cities are going to be sought out. They're going to be sought out even more. Because you can't live in a shell. That's pretty much what your house is going to be, a shell. Nothing in there is going to work because it's all ran on what? Fossil fuel, okay? These plants that you get your electricity from, these power lines, all that's ran on fossil fuel, man. See? They just told you, we read it, that they're looking to go what? Wind, hydro, green energy, all right? This power that we getting right now is going to be obsolete, man. So you got a job at home, that don't mean nothing. Because why? It ain't going to be it ain't going to be green energy. See? Everything now is fossil fuel. The power, the electricity that's running through your house is ran on what? Fossil fuel. So what are you going to do once the fossil fuel is limited and they tell you you can't operate your house but between 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning, and if otherwise they just cut off the power, man. Now what are you going to do for work? When your job is telling you to clock in at 7 and stay there all the way to 11 or 1, and your power gets cut off at 9, you're missing 2 or 3 hours of work. You're eventually going to be wrangled, or like a cattle, wrangled or herd into these smart cities. Because of why? Opportunities. See? This is where it's heading to, man. Okay? You may be able to live in your house, but you're going to have restrictions unless it's a smart house, okay? The only way you're going to stay there is if it's a smart house. And you're going to have that chip. This devil ain't playing. He's playing for keeps, man. You want to stay there and be a remote worker, take the chip. Otherwise, you ain't going to have power for the majority of the day and night. It's going to be on restrictions. It's called an energy lockdown, all right? Where they're going to say because we don't have as much energy because of the Strait of Hormuz staying closed for such long, we have to add restrictions, see? So now it's going to be an inconvenience for you where you can move to these smart cities and 15-minute cities where you can live life as normal, where you can have power 24/7. See? This devil isn't playing, man. He's coming in to play for keeps. If you want your amenities and your luxuries and everything else, either because these corporations can easily go from fossil to green, man. Your gyms, they're going to transition from fossil to green. Everything is going to go green in this up and coming new world order, man. This goes way deeper than oil. It's green. Okay? That's saying we used to have, man, you green back in the day. Somebody do some shit that was ill-advised or ill, man, that's green, man. Well, that's green. This is what they coming to do. Let's read it again. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath. Why? Because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So it's coming, man. Pain, those birthing pains, those contractions, as Professor Pap called them, is coming. And it's going to hit America the hardest. All right? It's going to hit America the hardest, man. Because why? This place is being cuddled, and the people have been cuddled for the longest, man, with convenience. So when they take that away, people are going to go crazy out here, man. And it's only a matter of time, Lord willing, soon. Now, the professor said we can start seeing these contractions by as early as the end of May, right around Memorial Day. All right? And for sure, it's going to be some fireworks on the current trajectory that it is that we're on now by the 4th. Okay? You know what 4th we're talking about. All right? When this place allegedly turns 250 years. Okay? If not sooner. All right? So we just got to continue to be what? Vigilant. Let's go ahead and close out with that. This is 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. See? Why is the Lord telling us this? Because this is the times that we're coming into. All right? Well, we're going to have to be circumspect. All right? Where you thinking this thing that you see now is going to last forever, it isn't, man. This fossil fuel that we've been using for the longest since the industrial days is coming to an end, man. And the 4th industrial is ready to take over. All right? Digital. Okay? Green energy, renewable energy. This is where it's going at, man. Okay? This is where it's going. All right? Whether it's 100% or 80%, it's going there. All right? Even if they allow you to keep some resemblance of the old lifestyle, you're still going to have to take that chip. Why? Because you're not going to be fully renewable. All right? 20% is a lot. 20% is a lot. Most of you can't go 20% without your phones. So they already know that. How much more your everyday essentials? These devils gonna have you by the balls, man. They know that. 20% is all they need for you to take the chip. Really. If we being upfront with you, 20% is all they need for a majority of the people to take the RFID microchip. You can't find out of 10 people you talk to, you can't find 2 that can legitimately say they can go a whole week without their phone, man. I dare you. You can't find, out of 10 people, you can't find 2 that can say they can go the whole week without their phone. Every one of them gonna say they can't do it. I gotta have my phone in some way, shape, or form. And these elites, they know that, man. So they pretty much can complete their assignment with 20%. 20%. They can give you the 80% because they know for a fact you can't do 80% fossil fuel without that 20% renewable energy, man. If they tell you you can go home, you can use electricity from such and such and such and such, they already know you can't make it, man, because you need a job. Especially if you're working from home,
If they cut your power off between the times that you got to go to work, they already got you, man. Just on that 20%, man. Think about it. If your neighborhood has restrictions of electricity from, let's say, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., they know they're gonna wrangle you into these smart cities because you're gonna have to what? You're gonna have to use their grid, their renewable energy. But I got a solar panel. That's cool. They're gonna put a restriction on how many watts you can use in your house then. That refrigerator, it stay running. How long that refrigerator stay on for? See, you people ain't really ready. You people really ain't ready to suffer, man. And they know that. This is why they don't need much to wrangle you, to herd you into the direction they want you into. All they gotta do is take away a little bit of something of yours and you're gonna be flipping, man. We can't afford you to have 150 watts or however many watts per day, and your refrigerator and your AC is putting out how many watts? Okay, they already got you because you ain't ready for comfort. You ain't ready to be uncomfortable. See? You need that central air and heat. You don't know how to open up the windows and catch a cool breeze and rock it out for the rest of the time. Now it's too hot, I'm sweaty, especially you women, man. See? They'll give you, out of 24 hours, they'll give you 16 hours. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. They know those other 8 hours is going to be hell for you. And it's going to be enough for you to break and take that RFID microchip. Because you want that complete convenience. They already know these things, man. They're seeing it right now. This thing with the Strait of Hormuz is a precursor, man. 20% of the global economy comes through that strait. And that's probably all they need is 20%. All right? Especially here in America. All right? For you people to fold, bend, crack, snap, beg, consent. That's what it says in 2nd Esdras. Those that consent should be trodden down. So you're going to consent, man. Okay? But ultimately, that's the Lord rejecting you. All right? So it says 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, be sober, be vigilant. Why? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about. Not running, walketh. Doing his due diligence, man. Although he has but a short time, he's making sure when he comes with it, it's going to be everything that he has already planned for the years before in these think tanks, okay? He knows the people, they ready for it, man. They're clamoring it, okay? They need their technology every day, all right? The younger generation, they don't even know what a damn payphone looks like. They don't even know how much money you had to use to talk on the payphone. 25 cents, 35 cents. They don't know what a landline is. Especially you content creators. Y'all definitely gonna be the ones that take that chip, man. See? Because why? Y'all quote unquote livelihood rely on the internet, man. Well, you can't use the internet unless you switch over to this renewable energy, man. Especially you streamers that go live and stream. You don't think Elon Musk is gonna get a what you call it? You don't think Elon Musk is going to get a kickback if you try to go Starlink? You don't think he's going to get a kickback? Of course. Now, his company wasn't listed amongst Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, but you might as well throw, what's his company name? Neuralink up there too, and Starlink, man. Okay? So it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Oh, who needs this microchip? Who needs this little old bitty microchip? Oh, you need it? Come on. I got you. We gonna get you 24/7 of electricity in your house. You ain't gotta come to the smart city now. See? You don't need to come to the smart city for opportunity. You took the RFID microchip, you can go back home and live comfortably, luxuriously in your penthouse or your apartment or your studio or whatever else. Because now we can monitor your watts, your output that your house is putting out, that you're using, that you're going to log on to our device. And we can monitor what you say on your social media, on whatever else. And if it's not nothing that's in line with what the restrictions and guidelines that we give you, we'll just cut it off. We'll shut your house down. See? Or however they're going to make it where your house can be set up as a smart city as long as you've taken that RFID microchip or the one that's in your brain, all right? Which may have something to do with Neuralink, okay? Or the other startup company, I forgot the name of them. What's that other one? I can't even think about it now. I know it's Neuralink, and it's another one that's similar to Neuralink, but they use a brain mesh and they insert it through a catheter through your nose or somewhere up in your collarbone to insert it inside your brain. I can't recall it right now, but it's another one out there too. So as long as you have one of those, they say, hey, we okay with you. You can go back home. We can monitor you. You don't want to make the drive. It ain't like you was going to drive to one of the smart cities anyways. All right. But you don't need to come now. Okay. Now you can call up Uber or DoorDash and we'll send one of our electrical buddies out to bring you your food, albeit lab grown food. But nevertheless, you can feel like you're still somewhat independent because you don't have to come to the city. You won't wrangle or herd to come into one of these smart cities or 15-minute cities. So now in your mind, you're justifying what you're doing because I'm not one of the people. I'm not one of the what do you call it? I'm not one of the sheep. But nevertheless, you're still a sheep. Okay? Just because you're not amongst the rest of the herd that's been wrangled and herded into the smart cities, you're still a sheep nevertheless, because why? You have that chip in you. Okay? But for all intents and purposes, for your well-being, you won't feel like you're a sheep because you're not in the smart cities. You'll still think that you're somewhat independent, albeit you still got the RFID microchip that's inside of you. This devil knows it, man. Okay, he got it planned. All right. See, this is why we have to thank the Lord for waking us up. All right, because we could have easily, and still can be, if the Lord don't deal with us, one of these ones that's going to be marked for destruction. Okay, instead of marked for exemption. All right, because either you're going to take the chip and you're going to be destroyed when you take the mark, the charagma, or you're going to be marked for exemption where you don't take the chip. Okay, Ezekiel 9. All right, so be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. All right, so with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.